shadows of distrust. The alarm blared through the underground research complex, its shrill tone cutting through the silence of Dr. Nadia Chen's laboratory like a knife. She jolted upright, nearly knocking over her microscope as her eyes darted to the security monitor. 3 unidentified ships had breached Earth's defense perimeter, their sleek purple hulls unlike anything in the human fleet. Protocol 7, said the automated voice over the intercom. All personnel to secure stations immediately. Nadia gathered her research tablets with trembling hands. After 15 years of isolation following the Proxima War, Earth had finally begun to recover. The last thing they needed was another conflict. A soft whimper from the storage closet made her freeze. That sound wasn't mechanical. Slowly, Nadia approached the closet, her heart hammering against her ribs as she slid the door open. 2 large silver eyes stared back at her from the darkness, filled with unmistakable terror. A child crouched among the supply containers, small body trembling. Her skin was a soft lavender purple, her hair flowing in silver waves around a face too delicate to be human. "Hello?" Nadia whispered, kneeling to appear less threatening. "I won't hurt you." The child pressed deeper into the corner, whispering something in a language Nadia's translator couldn't process. The device on Nadia's wrist hummed, then spoke in its mechanical tone. "Safe place hide, please, mother coming." Nadia's scientific mind raced. This child was clearly from the approaching ships. How had she gotten into the facility? And who was coming for her? The lab doors hissed open behind her. Nadia spun around, instinctively positioning herself between the child and the entrance. Commander Soren stood in the doorway, his military uniform crisp against his stern expression. "Dr. Chen, we have visitors demanding access to this facility," he said grimly. "They claim we've taken something that belongs to them." Before Nadia could respond, the child darted from the closet and grabbed Nadia's leg, trembling against her. Soren's eyes widened. "I see you've found what they're looking for," he said, reaching for his communication device. "Wait," Nadia said quickly. "She's terrified. Let me talk to whoever's looking for her first." Soren hesitated, then nodded curtly. "They're in the main hangar. I'll escort you." The child refused to leave Nadia's side as they walked through the sterile white corridors, her small purple hand clutching Nadia's lab coat. Through the reinforced windows, Nadia could see Earth's defense fighters surrounding the alien vessels. One wrong move from either side would trigger a conflict that neither species might survive. The hangar doors opened to reveal a delegation of tall, purple-skinned beings. Their leader stepped forward, towering over Nadia by at least 2 feet. His broad shoulders were draped in what appeared to be ceremonial armor, and his silver eyes, so like the child's, scanned the room with cold calculation before landing on the little girl. "I am Commander Darius of the Ziran Collective," he said, his voice deep and melodic through the translator. "You have my ward." Mira, the child, pressed closer to Nadia, her tiny fingers digging into the fabric of Nadia's pants. "She came to me," Nadia said, meeting his gaze steadily. "She was hiding and frightened." Darius's expression hardened. "Return her immediately." "She doesn't seem eager to go," Nadia observed, feeling a protective instinct she couldn't explain. "She is a child," Darius replied, "and knows nothing of humans or your ways. Your kind has a reputation throughout the stars. Dr. Chen." "The destroyers of worlds," Nadia bristled. "That war was 50 years ago, and your ships entered our territory unannounced." "A navigation error," Darius countered. "Nothing more," Mira suddenly spoke, her childish voice carrying strange musical tones as the translator processed her words. "Guardian Darius, no anger, please. Human doctor kind." Something shifted in Darius's expression, a flicker of surprise, perhaps even uncertainty. He knelt down, bringing himself to Mira's eye level. "She did not harm you?" Mira shook her head. Darius rose, his silver eyes meeting Nadia's brown ones with a new intensity. "It seems we have much to discuss, Dr. Chen." Nadia nodded, sensing that the fate of far more than one child hung in the delicate balance between them. "Indeed we do, Commander." Unlikely allies, the conference room felt suffocating despite its size. Nadia sat across from Commander Darius, watching as little Mira colored quietly at the end of the table. Earth's Defense Council had reluctantly agreed to a temporary diplomatic arrangement. The Ziran ships would remain in orbit while their navigation systems were repaired. and Commander Darius would stay to oversee Mira's safety. "Your facility seems adequate," said Darius, his silver eyes scanning the room with calculated precision. "Though your security protocols are concerning. A child should not have been able to access restricted areas." Nadia bristled at his tone. "Mira is exceptionally resourceful, and perhaps if you had kept better track of her, we wouldn't be in this situation." Mira looked up from her drawing, her lavender face clouding with worry as the translator processed their words. Darius noticed and softened his voice. "Mira is special even among our kind," he explained, a subtle gentleness entering his expression. "Her parents were scientists who died during an expedition. I promised to protect her, but she has abilities that make her unpredictable." Nadia's scientific curiosity piqued. "What kind of abilities?" "Empathic projection, teleportation under stress, skills that typically develop in adulthood for Xyrans, but in her." Darius paused, looking at the child with what Nadia now recognized as concern. "They manifest early and erratically." "That explains how she appeared in my lab," Nadia murmured, watching Mira with newfound understanding. The door slid open, revealing Commander Soren with 2 armed guards. His expression was hard as stone. "Dr. Chen, you're needed elsewhere," he said, eyes fixed coldly on Darius. "Our guest will be escorted to secure quarters." Mira dropped her crayon, silver eyes widening in fear. The lights flickered ominously. "Commander Soren?" Nadia said carefully, moving closer to Mira. "I don't think separation is wise given Mira's condition. Her abilities are triggered by emotional distress. All the more reason to contain the situation," Soren replied, gesturing for the guards to approach. Darius rose to his full height, tension radiating from his powerful form. "Touch her and there will be consequences." The room temperature seemed to drop as the 2 commanders faced each other. Nadia made a split-second decision, placing herself between them. "Both of you stop," she said firmly. "You're frightening her." She knelt beside Mira, whose purple skin had paled to a soft lilac. "It's all right, little one. No one is taking you anywhere without me." Mira's small hand reached for hers, and Nadia felt an unusual warmth spread up her arm, followed by a whisper of emotion that wasn't her own, gratitude tinged with lingering fear. "Commander Soren," she said, standing with new resolve, "I'm invoking Protocol 23. As chief xenobiologist, I'm assuming responsibility for both our guests under medical necessity." Soren's jaw tightened. "That protocol is for quarantine situations. It applies to any medical uncertainty that could impact facility safety." Nadia countered. "Mira's abilities qualify. They'll stay in the connected quarters adjacent to my lab." After a tense moment, Soren nodded curtly and left. The guards followed reluctantly. Darius looked at her with newfound curiosity. "You risked your position for us." "For Mira," Nadia corrected, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. "And for science. Her abilities could teach us much about your species." Later that evening, after settling Mira in the quarters that would now be theirs, Nadia found Darius standing by the window, staring at the distant stars. "Why did you really help us today?" he asked without turning. "Your commander clearly doesn't trust us." Nadia joined him by the window. 20 years ago, I was a medic during the final days of the Proxima War. I watched people die because we didn't understand each other. Because fear drove our decisions." She paused. The memory's still painful. "I swore I'd never let fear guide me again." Darius turned to face her, something shifting in his expression. "My parents died in that war. Human bombs destroyed our colony on Vega 9. "I'm sorry," Nadia whispered. "I was raised to hate humans," he continued, "to see you as destroyers. Yet today you protected what matters most to me." "She matters to you deeply," Nadia observed softly. "More than just a ward." Darius's gaze moved to the sleeping child. "She is the daughter of my heart, if not my blood. When her parents died, there was no one else. She was so small, so frightened." His voice grew hushed. "I'd never cared for a child before. I was a warrior, not a guardian." Something warm unfurled in Nadia's chest at the vulnerability in his admission. "You seem to be doing well enough." A small smile, the first she'd seen, briefly transformed his stern features. "Some days I wonder." From the bedroom doorway came a small voice. "Guardian Darius, bad dreams." They both turned to see Mira standing there, silver tears tracking down her purple cheeks. Without hesitation, they both moved toward her, their hands accidentally brushing as they reached for the child. That same strange warmth Nadia had felt earlier returned, stronger now, accompanied by a fleeting sensation of Darius's concern, raw and protective. Their eyes met over Mira's head, mutual surprise evident in their expressions. "What was that?" Nadia whispered. Darius looked equally puzzled. "I don't know, but I felt you too." Between them, Mira's tears had stopped, replaced by a sleepy smile as she took both their hands in hers. "Safe now," she murmured as the translator processed her words. "Both here. Both protect." Bridges between worlds dawn broke over the research facility, casting long shadows through the observation windows. Nadia awoke with a start, momentarily disoriented to find herself on the couch in the living quarters rather than her own bed. The events of yesterday came rushing back as she spotted Mira curled up against Darius on the adjacent chair, both still asleep. The commander looked different in sleep. His usually stern features softened, one protective arm draped around the child. Nadia found herself studying the contours of his face, the way his silver hair fell across his forehead, how his breathing matched Mira's in perfect synchrony. She slipped quietly to her lab, hoping to review her notes before they woke. The door had barely closed behind her when the communication panel chimed. "Dr. Chen," came Director Kwan's voice, clipped and formal. "The council requires your presence immediately. Bring the alien child's medical data." Nadia's stomach tightened. "What about Commander Darius?" "Not requested," said Director Kwan with unmistakable finality. The council chamber was an imposing semicircle of elevated seats, occupied by 12 stern-faced officials. Nadia stood at the center, her tablet clutched in white-knuckled hands. "Dr. Chen," began Counselor Aya, her gray hair pulled into a severe bun. "You've had 24 hours with the Zyron specimens. Your assessment?" Nadia bristled at the word specimens but kept her voice level. "Commander Darius and Mira are not specimens, Counselor. They are intelligent beings with complex emotions and abilities. Abilities that could pose a threat to this facility," interjected Commander Soren from his seat. "The child can teleport through our security systems, only when frightened," Nadia countered, which is why separating her from her guardian would be dangerous and counterproductive. Director Kwan leaned forward. "What of this empathic projection? Can it be weaponized?" Nadia thought of the gentle warmth she'd felt when touching Darius, the fleeting connection of shared emotion. "It appears to be a form of communication, not a weapon. And it requires physical contact." "Nevertheless," said Counselor Aya, "we've decided to transfer the child to our research division for more thorough testing. Commander Soren will escort you back to collect her." "No," Nadia said, surprising even herself with her vehemence. "Mira is not a lab specimen. She's a child. This decision will be seen as an act of aggression by the Zyrans. Dr. Chen," Director Kwan's voice hardened, "you forget yourself." "And you forget what started the last war," Nadia replied, her heart pounding, fear and misunderstanding. "If you take Mira, you'll confirm everything the Zyrans believe about humans." The chamber fell silent. Nadia knew her career might end in this moment, but she couldn't bring herself to care. Finally, Counselor Aya spoke. "You have 48 hours to prove these aliens pose no threat. Dr. Chen, after that we reconsider our options." Nadia returned to find Darius pacing the quarters, his face tight with worry. Mira sat cross-legged on the floor, her small purple fingers manipulating holographic shapes from a learning toy Nadia had provided. "Where were you?" he demanded, then noticed her expression. "What's happened?" Nadia explained the council's position while Mira played, seemingly oblivious but occasionally glancing up with two knowing eyes. "They wished to experiment on her," Darius said flatly when she finished, "just as our histories warned." "I won't let that happen," Nadia said with quiet intensity. "But we need to show them you're not threats. Could you explain more about Zyron abilities? Help me understand so I can help them understand." Darius studied her face, searching for deception. Whatever he saw seemed to satisfy him. "The connection you felt yesterday," he said finally. "It's called the Thran, a neural bridge that allows emotional transference. All Zyrans possess it to some degree, but Mira's is exceptionally strong." That's fascinating, Nadia whispered, her scientific curiosity igniting. Is it only between your kind? Traditionally, yes, he replied, his silver eyes holding hers, which is why our connection was surprising. Unprecedented, even. The air between them seemed to thicken with unspoken implications. Later that afternoon, they sat in Nadia's lab while Mira napped in the adjacent room. A simple experiment. Electrodes measuring neural responses as they tentatively touched fingers across the table. Try focusing on a specific memory, Nadia suggested, something with strong emotional resonance. Darius nodded, closing his eyes. His fingers brushed hers, and suddenly Nadia wasn't in her lab anymore. She was standing on a cliff overlooking an ocean of swirling purple and silver, 3 moons hanging in a twilight sky. The beauty was overwhelming, but more powerful was the sense of home that accompanied it. Darius's home, his memory. The connection broke as he pulled away, looking shaken. Did you see? Zesher, she whispered, your homeworld. It's beautiful. Something vulnerable flashed across his face. No human has ever seen it. Show me more, she said softly, extending her hand. Their fingers intertwined this time, the connection stronger. Memories flowed between them. Nadia's childhood in the underwater cities of New Singapore, Darius's first flight among the stars, shared experiences of loss during the war, and something newer, more tentative, the growing fascination they felt for each other. When they finally separated, Nadia realized they'd moved closer, their knees touching beneath the table. Darius reached up, hesitantly brushing a strand of hair from her face. You're nothing like what we were told humans would be, he murmured. And you're nothing like what I expected either, she admitted. His hand cupped her cheek, warm and surprisingly soft. Nadia leaned into the touch, her heart racing as he slowly closed the distance between them. The kiss was gentle, tentative at first, then deepening as the Thran connection bloomed between them, amplifying every sensation with shared emotion. His lips were warmer than a human's, tasting faintly of something like cinnamon and starlight. They broke apart at the sound of the door sliding open, Mira standing there with sleep-tousled silver hair and a knowing smile. Finally, said the translator, processing her musical words, heart seeing truth. Darius laughed, a rich sound that transformed his entire being, and Nadia couldn't help joining in, even as she wondered what tomorrow's deadline would bring. For this moment, with Mira's delighted giggles filling the room and Darius's hand still holding hers, the bridge between their worlds seemed not just possible, but inevitable. Hearts in the balance. The emergency sirens wailed through the facility, red warning lights bathing the corridors in crimson. Nadia ran toward the main control center, her heart pounding against her ribs. What's happening? She demanded, bursting into the room where Director Kwan and Commander Soren stood before a wall of monitors. 3 more Zyran warships have entered our solar system, Soren replied coldly. Your alien friends called reinforcements. That's impossible, Nadia said. Darius wouldn't. The evidence suggests otherwise. Director Kwan gestured to the communication logs. A transmission was sent from this facility to the Zyran fleet 6 hours ago. Nadia's blood ran cold. Where are they now? Where are Darius and Mira? Contained, said Soren. As they should have been from the beginning, Nadia found them in the high-security detention block. Darius pacing like a caged predator while Mira huddled in the corner, her purple skin ashen with fear. I didn't send for reinforcements, Darius said immediately, his silver eyes intense. This is not my doing. Then whose? Nadia asked, trying to ignore the doubt creeping into her mind. The Vakari, he said grimly, a faction within our government that opposes peace with humans. They must have tracked our ships. Mira suddenly clutched her head, crying out in pain. Bad ones coming. Want to hurt. Want war. Nadia made her decision instantly, overriding the security lockdown with her emergency codes. We need to get to my lab, now. They ran through the corridors as the facility shook with the first impacts of orbital bombardment. In the lab, Nadia activated a hidden panel, revealing a small ship. My research vessel, she explained. It can get you back to your fleet to stop this. Darius stared at her. Come with us. I can't abandon my people, she whispered. He pulled her close, his lips finding hers in a desperate kiss. This isn't goodbye. Promise me you'll protect her, Nadia said, looking at Mira. With my life, he vowed. As their ship disappeared into the stars, Nadia turned to face the consequences of her choice, her heart torn between two worlds she could no longer separate. Beyond the stars 1 month later, Nadia stood before the Earth Unity Council, her shoulders straight despite her exhaustion. The days following Darius and Mira's escape had been brutal. Interrogations, detention, accusations of treason. Dr. Nadia Chen began Counselor Aya. You stand before us having been vindicated by recent events. Commander Darius's transmission has been authenticated. The Vakari faction has been neutralized by the Ziran leadership. Soren looked away, jaw tight with unspoken frustration. Furthermore, continued Aya, the Ziran High Command has requested your presence as Earth's ambassador in upcoming peace negotiations. Nadia struggled to maintain her composure. Me? You built a bridge when others would have built walls, said a familiar voice from the chamber entrance. Darius stood there, resplendent in ceremonial armor, Mira at his side wearing a formal Ziran child's garment that shimmered with embedded starlight. Nadia's heart soared as she crossed the chamber, protocol forgotten as she knelt to embrace Mira first, then rose to face Darius. You came back, she whispered. His 3-fingered hand cupped her cheek. I promised it wasn't goodbye. Later, on the observation deck of the Ziran flagship, Earth glowing blue and green below them, Darius knelt before Nadia, offering a pendant that shimmered with living light. On Zir, we believe souls find each other across lifetimes, he said. Mine has found yours. Mira stood beside them, taking both their hands in hers, creating a circuit of the Thran connection that flowed between all three. Family now, she said simply. Nadia's tears fell as she nodded, yes. Family now. As Darius rose to kiss her, the stars seemed to bear witness to something unprecedented yet inevitable. 2 hearts from different worlds, building something beautiful beyond the stars. Mira giggled, her small purple hands clapping with delight. New story beginning, and indeed it was, a story of understanding, of bridges built where walls once stood, of love powerful enough to change the course of civilizations. A story that was only just beginning.